So we are continuing our career series where we're speaking to professionals and kind of just sharing insights into their career journey. So today we are joined by Beatrice. So do you want to just start by just giving us a little intro into yourself and what you do?
Sure. Well, my name is Beatrice Ngalula Kabutakapua, and I'm originally I was born in Italy, but my parents are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I came to the UK in 2009, and that was to study journalism because although I was a very introverted kid growing up, I had this idea that I wanted to travel the world and meet new people all the time. So I thought that journalism was going to help me do that. And also I wanted to have flexibility in my work. So I studied journalism at Cardiff University, and then I moved to London, and that was because I started doing internships, and I did internships in all the major newspapers in London. And then my dream was really, well, at least I could picture myself working for the Guardian, and then I did an internship there, and I found that the idea that I had about journalism was very different from the reality. So they spent, back then, at least the journalists I work with, they spent lots of time in the newsroom, like more time than I thought and wanted to spend in a place, in a building. So I decided that maybe that wasn't the right journey for me, and I started working as a freelance journalist. So I still had my flexibility, and I could still meet people, and I was traveling all the time, which was nice. But then even that felt a little bit unauthentic, and it felt like I wasn't really doing something purposeful anymore. And I decided to work on a documentary series, which was on African migrants in different cities of the world. And the idea was really to talk about migration in a different way from the mainstream media, because obviously that was a topic that really touched me, although I wasn't aware of that because I wasn't explaining that way. When I was traveling for the documentary, I was just telling people, we're doing this documentary because the way migration is being talked about is not the right way. We need a new narrative. But I was never really putting my story out. And the results, and I saw that with the very first interviews, the results was that the conversation weren't authentic in the way that I wanted them to be. So as soon as I started sharing my story, everything changed, and that's when I really started to I really started to have this idea of helping even other people to tell their stories, because then everything changes, everything in the way you relate with others, the way you do business, the way you train, the way you lead, everything changes with storytelling. So what I'm doing now is working with entrepreneurs, especially women of color entrepreneurs, and I coach them in storytelling for their business. That was a very long intro.
Good, it was good. And you kind of answered one of the questions I was going to ask already, which is why storytelling. So you've kind of answered that already. That's great. Are there any, I guess, good stories or good storytellers that you know, or any good speeches that you've heard? Do you have a favorite?
Favorites. I think I've started with storytelling in writing. So one of the some of the books that I really liked and that I really found inspiring in terms of storytelling. One is, well, actually, I can think about two which are both from journalists. One is from a Polish journalist, Rydzar Kapuściński, and the book is called The Other, and it's all about the relationship within each other, basically how we all look different and we all seem different, and we are actually all the same. And because we are the same, we have the same fears when encounter each other. So it doesn't matter where we're from, how old we are. If I have a fear, someone else who looks completely different from me will have the same fears. So that's definitely one of the book. And then growing up, or I would say in the years, I started focusing more on entertainment as well. So I really found inspiration in TV series as well, and I really like the work of Shonda Rhimes, and that's both because of how entertaining her series are, but also because of how patient she was in developing her characters so that they could be models for other people. So I think she's one of the first producers to have like a all lots of, I don't know how many, but many black doctors in her series, in Grey's Anatomy. And then there are strong figures, strong powerful figures also in other series that she's done. So I really like the fact that she's not just producing something to entertain people, she's producing something to represent a reality, to inspire people as well. So those are two examples, and then I can think of many others. There is a great transformational coach. Her name is Lisa Nichols, and she's also a great storyteller. Um, who else? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, those are the three things that comes to mind now. Sorry.
Yeah, see Shonda Rhimes. What's your favorite TV show that she has?
I would have said at the beginning, I was watching Grey's Anatomy and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like a crying TV series. You just watch it and cry all the time. But then along the way, it it was clear that she had some themes and she had a vision for the series. So I would say either that or How to Get Away with Murder.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Scandal
Or
did.
Scandal. Oh wait, no, definitely Scandal. No, 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 Scandal.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of your coaching, what are the main challenges that the people you work with face when trying to tell a story?
It's interesting because the main challenges are never how to actually tell a story, but it's more about how do I bring myself to share my story, because that's the and that was also my experience. It wasn't much about finding the structure, and of course I've worked in journalism, I was writing, and I was used to write stories, but I wasn't used to share my story. And it's not just about getting used to do it, but it's also about allowing ourselves to do it and accepting our stories as well, and also getting rid of all the imposter syndrome, all the doubts and everything, and just do it. Because yeah, I think that that's the main. We are our main issue in a way. That's the thing that happens with all of my entrepreneurs. They always say something like, oh yeah, but if I tell that story then it's too much about me, or no, maybe I shouldn't brag about myself. And I'm like, no, 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 it is about you. I mean, it is your story, it starts from you. So yeah, definitely that.
Okay. So, do you have any advice for anyone suffering with imposter syndrome in this way? Go through it for like various different ways, whatever we're going through, like whether it's a career or just life in general. So, yeah, what kind of piece of advice would you give anyone?
Um, I think that the first one will be to stop talking or thinking too much about imposter syndrome, because I feel like as soon as I started to join this conversation about imposter syndrome, then I would see it everywhere. I was like, oh no, yeah, I've got imposter syndrome. Oh, So maybe I would forget about it for a second. And also a practical thing that I started doing is listing all the achievements that you reach, that you achieve throughout your lifetime. And it's not about winning the, I don't know, Golden Globe or something. Every small achievement that you can reach, and that really help us to remind ourselves of all the things that we have done and all the things that we should be proud of.
I think that's an important one because depending on, I guess, your culture and where you grew up, your family environment, etc. a lot of people are not used to kind of patting themselves on the back and, you know, telling themselves, oh, you did good there. So that kind of pours into that feeling of imposter syndrome, because you don't even remember the things that you've done because you don't acknowledge them anyway.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, sometimes it's also cultural as well. And that's why, because it's very important that we, at least that's what I learned after so many years, that we have to be our own cheerleaders, right? So it's, I remember when I was at university in Italy, and every time I was giving an exam, the structure is quite different, but every time that I was giving an exam, no matter the outcome, I would just go out and buy myself a ring. So I would acknowledge that, you made it, you did it. It doesn't matter how it went, but you did it. And I think that if we get in the habit to do that, I mean, it doesn't obviously have to be a ring, but, get in the habit of compliment ourselves and cheerlead for ourselves, that will make a lot of a difference.
I have a question more related to so kind of the upbringing, because you mentioned, being born in Italy, but also studying here in Cardiff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So it's like, I guess the question is, what is the difference that you've seen between those two different cultures and being?
You are opening Pandora's box. Okay. Let's focus maybe on the university years. From the perspective of the university, the way it works I was going to the university in Rome, and that's at the first university at La Sapienza, which is a huge university, and I was doing literature. So there were so many people, really so many people. I mean, we really didn't have an identity anymore in the university. We were just numbers. And that's the first thing that I see, that was different compared to Cardiff. Because when I went to Cardiff, yes, we were 80 people, I think, in our course, but we were 80 people, that's it. We were having conversations with our tutors, we were having discussion, we could go to someone if we had an issue. Whereas in Rome, it was more like, just go in your university parking and, you get lost in a way. But I think that the at least the fact of being at the university where there were so many other different people from, I wouldn't say different parts of the world, but different parts of Italy, at least they were experiencing being in a different place or in a city that wasn't their city. That was more helpful than being in high school or before the university. But yeah, I mean, also the cultural difference was obviously interesting.
So when did you decide to go full time with storytelling, and how did you go about it?
One. I think it was more. It might have been this year, probably, when I decided that that's really what I wanted to focus my energy on, and it was more about trusting myself, trusting that I could make a living out of it, and that I could go on with the storytelling. But then when I started doing storytelling last year, a couple of years ago, I really, when you find your place, like throughout our lives, we are this piece of the puzzle and we are always trying to match. And then you find your place and you're like, oh, this is comfortable, this is good, this is really my place. And that's how I felt about storytelling. But I wasn't still sure about maybe the financial aspect of it, how to grow it, how to find clients, and all this kind of stuff. So I think that this year was the year when I really understood and when I really trusted myself, and I said, okay, you can do it, just do it. And also, I don't do it full time per se. I mean, I don't work the entire day. because that's also a choice of mine, because I want to be able to enjoy my family as well. So I work half a day.
So I guess, and I mean, I'm asking this question mostly because, there's people with ideas out there that might be doing it from a passion perspective, but then wondering, when do I make that decision to go full time and what does that look like? So are there any kind of programs or mentors that you kind of, had that kind of helped you with that decision, especially when it comes from it being a passion thing to actually, let me go and do this to earn a living?
Mm-hmm. I didn't join any. Oh, yeah, I did join a couple of programs, and I started last year. Two of them were online. One is from a very inspiring entrepreneur. She's called Danielle Leslie, and she has a program that actually teaches you to sell online courses. So to create your own course based on your lived experience, and then you create a course and then you sell it, and that's her program. But the way she brings you to the actual course creation, you really have to work a lot on your own story as well, in a way, on your experience and what you want to bring and how you want um, to see yourself as an entrepreneur. So that was the first program that I joined, like formal program. And then after that, I actually joined more of a community than a program, which is the Precious community, which is basically is actually an award, the Precious Award, and it's an award for women of color entrepreneurs, actually women of color leaders in general. And they had a conference last April, and during this conference there were talks from other entrepreneurs, and then there was a workshop in particular which was all about the financial aspect of running a business, and that was really important for me. It was a very pivotal moment because there were so many things that I didn't consider, so many things that I was maybe curious, or it was really important. And also, Precious had the Precious Nights at the British Library, where you went once a month, and there were a group of Black women entrepreneurs, and they will just share their stories of how they created their business and how it was growing, and their difficulties and their imposter syndrome moments, and all these kind of things. And that was really helpful, more for the motivation, and to also to realize that there were so many people, even people who made it, who were having your same doubts and your same issue, and you could have a conversation with them. So it was really about having that kind of community. And then one of the last program that I invested in was the B School from Marie Forleo, and that was also very important for me to figure out how I wanted to shape my business in a very practical way. So how much I wanted to earn, how many hours I wanted to work, whether I had a vision for the future, and all these kind of details.
And did you have a mentor, or do you have a mentor?
I'm still looking for a mentor. I mean, I'm still looking for a formal mentor in a way, but I think that I've had so many people I could talk to, and but nothing. So many people who were supporting me, which is very, very important. But then no, not yet a proper business mentor.
So you do a lot of workshops around storytelling. Are they tailored to a a specific type of story, or can anyone join your workshops?
The workshops are usually for, it's not specific per se, in the way that I don't welcome some industries or some people or some. It's more about, and that will happen in an organic way. I tend to work with people who do good in some way. So you might be a billionaire, haven't met them yet, but you might be billionaire, millionaire. You might earn, I don't know, £1,000, or you might have a social enterprise or just an organization or a project or whatever. But the important aspect for me is that it's not just about, yeah, I want to make X amount of money at the end of the month. It's about, yes, I want to make the money, but I also want to make sure that I help people, because I have this idea of some kind of domino effect where I help someone who's going to help other people and they're going to help other people, because that makes sense in my brain in a way. So yeah, that's the requirement.
Cool. So I think we talked about like imposter syndrome, which we
Yeah.
know is a big issue. So I guess the way you tell a story, I guess it depends on your audience. So I know one of the issues that people have is kind of that public speaking element. So it's like, okay, I've got a story, and now I've got to share it in a room full of 100 people, right? Have any sort of, I guess there's two sides to it. So one, what are the main issues you see that people have or problems they have with, kind of talking in front of a lot of people? And two, do you have any kind of tips and advice for people who struggle with speaking publicly?
Mm-hmm.
So that could be to 20 people, it could be to 100 people.
I will. This reminds me, if I can uh, tell you a little story about this. This reminds me of one of the first time I actually spoke in public. I think I was maybe 9 years old, and I was always writing a lot as a kid, and I got in the habit of writing poems, and I wrote this poem which was about like spring, summer, and people getting high fever and stuff like that. It was really weird, but my parents found it funny the way I would act it. So my mom asked me, "Oh, do you want to come and share this poem with a group of women? We are having like a little meeting or something." And I didn't really understood what it was. I just said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever." And then I got to this meeting, and of course, this is a 9-year-old memory, so I'm not sure whether it's accurate. But I remember this room full of people. And there were so many people, and I was like, wait, wasn't that like 5, 10 people, like friends, and and she was like, oh, it's okay, you can do it. And I was like, no, 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 I can't. No, 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 no. And I started crying, seriously. I started crying. I was stomping my feet, and I said, no, I cannot do it. And my mom was just very calm, and she was like, yeah, of course you can. And I felt like I didn't have any other option. So I went on the stage, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, either I just go on the stage and I do what I think I will be doing, which is doing very poorly, and everyone will be like, oh my God, this is awful. When is she going to end? Or I go there, do it the way I do it with my parents, and then leave as fast as possible. So I decided for the second option, which kind of bring me to your question. I think that the problem that we have when we have to speak in public is that we have this idea of how bad we are going to fail. So we kind of program ourselves to fail. Whereas if we think, okay, I'm just gonna go there, I'm gonna do it as in the best possible way. If something doesn't follow my plans, that's fine, but I'm just gonna give it a shot. But we don't do that. We just, yeah, in a way, we don't trust ourselves again. We say, okay, no, 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 I'm just gonna fail, and that's for these reasons. And we don't focus on, no, I'm actually gonna do it right because I said it with other people, because I know what I'm talking about, because I have a structure, and blah blah. So my tip will be first to program ourselves do to do the best that we can. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to do it the best that we can. Second, to start with a small group of people. If you don't feel comfortable, or if you're not used to talk to 100 people, start with 10 people, or start with 5 people, even start with 3 people. And then also trying to know ourselves. So for me, I know that I am going to perform better if I have a structure in mind, and if I reread that structure over and over again. I don't necessarily have to repeat the entire story out loud, but I need to have a structure. So I know that I work well if I do that. So I do that before I have to do a presentation or anything like that. Another tip is also feeling comfortable. So I usually, when I do some kind of presentation, I usually have an object in my hand because it makes me, I don't know, it makes me feel comfortable. So I do that. And, it can be anything, but it's important that we also feel like relaxed and comfortable. And then the final thing will be to allow yourself for anything, any kind of preparation that you have to do before. So I don't usually, if I have like a presentation at 1, I will start preparing at 12:25 because maybe I know that I want to look at myself in the mirror 10 times, or maybe I know that my stomach is going to be upset, so I will need 10 minutes of my life, or maybe I know that I will need to drink some water. So even allowing yourself to be, it's basically, it all comes down to allowing yourself to be fully prepared, and then also accepting the fact that even if it doesn't go by plan, it's okay, because you already succeeded because you are doing it. So that's already a success. Very long answer.
It's useful. It's useful. Okay, so I guess I'm just thinking about, someone listening to this in the future and thinking, oh, I would like to, do storytelling or become a storytelling coach. How would you, what advice would you give them to kind of try and jump on that journey? Obviously, attend one of your workshops, but what else could they do?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, get in touch because I always like to talk about storytelling. Obviously, um, and also I don't know. To be honest, I don't know of any other storytelling coach who does what I do the way I do, which is obviously fine. There are people who are working with like leaders and on corporate level, and they train them to be to tell stories, but more on a presentation kind of aspect. I usually have a much more internal approach to storytelling as well. um, but I think that the first stop will definitely be to have a first-hand experience of what it's like to tell a story. So getting used to tell your story over and over again, and be your first experiment in a way, trying to see what works, what doesn't work, how you feel, and how, what are the tips that you can give, and trying to really see what's happening with you when you're sharing a story before trying to help others.
Try and help others. Okay, so let's go outside of storytelling now.
Yes.
So professionally, how do you sort of like develop yourself? How do you keep yourself kind of, I guess, just like knowledgeable and knowing, the different things? Yeah, upskilling yourself. How do you do that kind of outside the world of storytelling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first, one thing is definitely investing in myself in terms of joining programs. But I'm also mindful of not of avoiding to join too many things at the same time, because that doesn't help. So I usually start maybe I do maybe 1, 2 programs a year so far. But I really like to complete one and actually take action on that, and then, thinking about something else. Another way is books. I read lots of books. I've got all a stock here of books, and it can be lots of them are more on self-development than actually storytelling and business skills. And that's because I feel that we are, as I said before, we are often our own barrier. So I really felt that it was really important for me to understand myself better, to improve myself on that level. And then communities as well. So from the money and financial aspect, I follow a lot the Raincheck, which is founded for especially for women, to help them and learn more about all the financial issues and information that are out there. What else? Newsletters, and a lot of them are about business and money for me, because I know that that's the aspect that I might fail a little bit, because I was raised in a with the idea that when you do good, you have to do it for free and you don't necessarily have to earn from it. So I know that that's one aspect of my mindset that I have to work on. So I receive two newsletters. One is from Denise Duffield Thomas, and she's a money coach. And then the other one is from Ramit Sethi, which is they are two very different style, which is also useful. And he's very straightforward, very clear, no kidding, no jokes. And yeah, so I would say those communities, books a lot, um, newsletters, and then programs whenever I can.
Cool. Do we want to go into some less professional and more like how you questions? So just generically, do you have any interest in hobbies? So outside of reading, storytelling, what else do you kind of enjoy doing?
I know you like family time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love spending time with my family, and I think that also that's kind of a motivation behind how I structure the business. So there was a time where I had to work on Saturday morning, for instance, and it was messing up the entire weekend for us. So we didn't have enough time to spend together. I didn't have enough mind space either to stay with my kids. So that's one of the things. We like going cycling around. We try to get more active as well. But in general, we like traveling and moving. And for myself, I like everything that creates something. So like jewelry making, these I made myself, knitting or musing. Um, what else? Writing. I recently did something crazy. I used to skate when I was little. I used to go on rollerblades, but that was in school. We had like a confined area. It was primary school, so and we had this confined area where we could skate, and I loved it, and it was fine when I didn't have to do hockey, because then uh, they also teach us how to do hockey, which I didn't like, because there was this I was one of the tallest kid in the class, so they were always pairing me with the other taller guy, and he had to chase me, and it wasn't that fun at that point. But the idea of skating, I like that. So I recently bought a pair of rollerblades, and I'm telling you, I'm ridiculous on them, but that's fine. I told my son, okay, we can try, because he also got a pair and he's 4 years old. um I told him, okay, we can train like 5 minutes every single day in the house or in the corridor, and then we will go out. And he was like, okay, sure. Let's go out, Mama, the first day. And I was like, okay. And oh gosh, it was ridiculous. I was holding on plants, and the sad thing is, people were passing by and they weren't trying to help or anything. But yeah, that's another thing that I maybe will become a proper hobby.
Okay. I know we've all been in a strange time because the world is just kind of in a strange place at the moment. But are there any key things you've learned about yourself during lockdown?
About myself, I didn't stop and thinking about that. Um, Maybe I think well, it was a chance, it was an opportunity to focus more on my health and my well being. So I actually hired a well being coach And right during the lockdown, I worked with her to try and balance how I was eating, the physical activities I was doing, and things like that. So I think in a way I understood that the entrepreneur persona that I want to be is also the kind of person who is active, who takes care of her health, of what she eats and stuff like that. What else? Um, I think, yeah, this was the main thing. And also, I suppose, probably thinking about the family lifestyle. We have been reflecting a lot on how we want to live, where we want to live, how we want our space to look like, and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, knowing the things that you know, what advice would you give them? Well, yourself.
Oh my goodness. 18 years old. I have to remember what it looked like. 18 years old. Um, I think I will tell her something like, let them say what they say, you're on the right path. Because I think that was one of the things that was bothering me a lot when I was growing up. Because everyone, even people who will just meet me on the street, had an opinion on me. And they were like, oh, she's shy, oh, she's mysterious, oh, she's that and that, oh, you are gonna be a great writer, oh no, you should study math, oh no, you should do that. And I was like, "Ah." And sometimes growing up it can be very confusing having all these voices coming at you, because then you don't it's not that easy to find your own path, your own journey, because you always, especially if some of these voices come from people that you love and they care about you, it's very difficult to stick to your position and say, no, 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 this is my path, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm going to do it no matter what. So yeah, I think I will tell her that.
Yeah, and that's a good point because when you're younger, a lot of the things that you do or you want to be is kind of based on the influences of the people around you.
Yeah.
It's a time where you're still trying to figure out yourself as well. So hearing all these different voices definitely, will have an effect on you. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know whether you also have this experience, but also it kind of start to create also your identity. Like when I was told that I was shy, I actually started believing that I was shy. And
Yeah.
then I wouldn't do some things because I would tell myself, no, I'm too shy. And that wasn't because I knew I was shy, it was because
Yeah.
other people believed that I was, you know?
Experience that as well. Cool. So I have one more fun question for you.
Okay.
Kind of ask everybody that we speak to, to share their story, and it's around, if this was a Friday and it was lunchtime, what would you be having for lunch, and what would be on your Spotify playlist?
Um, I don't have Spotify. I don't have a Spotify account, so.
YouTube, whatever. What
What are you
music would you be
listening
listening to?
Okay, so Friday lunch. I think it will be some colorful, creative thing recipe. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Now it comes to mind like a octopus salad with avocado and tomato.
I was-
expecting that.
so is your food being colorful like something that you kind of enjoy when you're thinking about what you want to eat?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And now you're making me hungry, by the way.
Cool. And what kind of music would you be listening to?
I think, well, these days, I don't know, for some reason there is this song stuck in my head. Um, Get Like Him, by the Daft Punk.
No, never
Oh wait, no, I think I have. It's
Na 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 na
you
na
do
na
know
na 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 na
you'll
na
know.
na na.
Just not know if I've yeah, yeah. I know the
I'll
song.
Google it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess for anyone who listens to this in the future and wants to kind of reach out or, you know, attend one of your workshops, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can definitely start from my website where there are all the information, and that's kabutakapua.com. And from there, they can connect on social media, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or they can just simply send me a message or an email.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you very much
thank
for
you so much for your time.
joining us today. And yeah, and I know we'll speak later, but just thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great evening.